Hi everyone, my name is Dawn Brolin. I'm a certified public accountant, a certified fraud examiner, the president of Powerful Accounting Inc., and the author of the Designated Motivator for Accounting Professionals. And I'm here to tell you, if you are not searching for applications that eliminate data entry, you are missing the mark. Now, I found an app. It is called Bookkeep. Bookkeep solves for integrations between apps such as PayPal, or actually really payment methods or ordering systems like Grubhub, things like that, Shopify, WooCommerce. The list is never ending and they're always adding on more applications. What is awesome about Bookkeep is that you simply connect your data file, whatever it may be, to Bookkeep, and it syncs. Just use Grubhub, for instance. It puts in Grubhub income at the gross amount. Then it has expense accounts for Grubhub fees and so on. And so it allows you to not be data entering or hand keying journal entries for these types of systems. And it does it correct every single time. When I found that application, this is a conversation that I've had with my staff for years and years. We don't want to enter data. When I found Bookkeep, we implemented it immediately for every client who has either PayPal or Shopify or Grubhub or whatever it may be, so that those transactions can go in on a daily basis magically while you're sleeping. And you have the accounting that is accurate so you can make decisions. Are you selling enough Grubhub? Are the fees worth it? How much are you paying? And so many people who are using these applications have no idea what it really costs them to run through those systems. And so Bookkeep has solved for that. As an accounting professional, I always tell my staff, I want books to be correct, and I do not want you hand keying a journal entry. If you find yourself hand keying a transaction, then you need to stop and find the solution. And I can tell you right now, Bookkeep is solving that for all of our Grubhub, PayPal, again, Shopify. There's many different apps that they sync with. It's awesome. I recommend that you go take a demo today because it's so easy and it's super affordable. So go get them. Your designated motivator here. Go check out Bookkeep. Thank you so much for listening. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DM Disruption. Dawn Brolin here out of Windham, Connecticut. I'm super excited today to have two of my absolute favorite people, just in general and in life. I think we have those people we love. And we're here today with Tom Ruscitti. I tried every version. Them all.
Okay.
You say it.
Ruscitti.
I gotta do that pronunciation thing that your brother has.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, it took me 20 years to learn how to say it, so you're okay.
I can't even imagine how long it took to spell it, because there's an S and a C in there.
Right.
The C is what throws you off.
Yeah.
The C. Yeah. And then, of course, we have the wonderful, beautiful, amazing Emily Hedrick, which is saying the name right. And these are my people from Bookkeep. We're not just going to sit here and talk about Bookkeep. We're going to talk about some really cool industry-wide thought leadership, because that's fancy. We're just going to talk about stuff that we love to talk about. And so Tom and I have known each other for, well, since we were like 2, so it's probably been 20 years, right? I think that's
yes.
And so Tom has been in the accounting industry for many years. Many, again, like I said, since he was 2. And Emily, who is just the backup of all backups, she's actually in charge of Tom. Lainey, of course, is too.
Yeah.
Right? Emily, really, at the end of the day, on a day-to-day basis, Emily's in charge. So I want each of you, Tom, once you start, just introduce yourself. Why do you love the accounting industry? And just say whatever you want. My guy.
Okay. Well, let me start by saying my name's Tom Ruscitti, or Ruscitti. That's the Italian pronunciation. It actually means small roses in Italian. Gosh, I've been working with QuickBooks Pro Advisor in the community for roughly 20 years, maybe a little bit more, and started, I don't know, 20 years ago. I got a call from Intuit site leader in Tucson who asked me if I could come and teach them a little bit about point of sale, because QuickBooks Point of Sale had just been released, and they didn't realize they couldn't sell it to like Chinese buffet restaurants and things like that. So I went down there on a 10-day contract, and it ended up lasting 10 years. And It's funny because everybody goes to these great, huge conferences, and they're, like Oprah Winfrey and all kinds of famous people. But if you talk to some of the original, back then we used to call them the Intuit retail solution providers.
Hmm.
Um, we started with 6. We could have had our first conference in a car. Um, our first actual RSP, retail solution provider conference, was at a place called Westward Look in Tucson, Arizona, and we basically did it all ourselves. So Marie and I and Marie's 2 sons were putting the little pages in the binder for the agenda. Bill Bergen and I were banging the little brass tacks into the certificates. Gina was trying to keep me square, which was a full-time job that now Emily does. Which I literally, I mean, let's admit it. If you've got to try to keep me on track, you should get hazard pay. I mean, really,
Essentially worker pay.
yeah, I'm not even gonna. I can't even deny it, right? I mean, but it was and still is, and if we want to maybe chat about community, we can do that in a minute. But I've been in this marketplace, especially in the Intuit marketplace. Now we're getting into the Zero marketplace and that ecosystem for 20 years. And honestly, I would say I've made more great friends in the Intuit community than I had my whole life. And I'm talking about through college and high school and,
Mhm.
a couple stints in, prison and,
Yeah,
no, yeah,
those were quick.
yeah, yeah. So, and that's me.
Yeah. Well, and so Marie Archuleta, right? That was who
Hmm.
talking about. Wonderful woman. I thought I saw her in an airport last week, and it wasn't her. But
Well, I will tell you, I don't know if you've seen Marie recently. She looks like a movie star. She
she
looks like a movie star.
one of the most kind people you'll ever meet in the
Yeah,
entire
you want me to tell you a quick story about Marie? Marie and I go back.
yeah.
We go back a long time. She was one of the first RSP team members, solution provider team members. I left. Gina really took over. Simon passed, but Marie and Gina were one of the 2 first. I mean, when we first started this, it was myself, Marie, Gina, Bill Bergen, and then Craig Baker came a little bit later.
Right.
Um, and we did everything together. And we were going to work a show in San Francisco, and I was already there. And Marie was flying in, and it was a little bit later at night. So instead of making her take a taxi, I ordered her a car service. Now, the difference between a car service and a taxi in San Francisco in the late 80s was probably $30, right? You know,
Back in the day. Yeah.
to this day, Marie Archuleta will tell that story about how special she felt because she wasn't getting a cab. There was a guy standing there with a sign, and she got to feel important.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things, and I have hundreds of those, thousands of those, where you just got to make people feel special. And
Yeah.
Marie was a very special human.
Yeah.
And so anything I could do to make her life easier, I was willing to do.
Right.
Often at the expense of what Intuit calls your P card,
Yep.
which is your company purchasing card.
Right.
Um, and honestly, 20 years later, we do the same thing. And Emily can attest to it, right? I'm not gonna have Emily walking through a parking garage in New Orleans,
Nope.
valet park the car. I don't really care how much it costs, right? I mean, it's not like we're staying in a penthouse with caviar and champagne.
Right.
Just valet. I don't, if
Absolutely.
something happens to Emily, we're done,
No,
right?
it's so
I
we
mean,
guys will all pack up.
yeah, I'm loose in New Orleans and only, yeah. Think
I
about
have
it
to
for
come
just
down.
a second. Think about that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Fly down.
that's me.
So speaking of Emily, tell us about yourself. Which, by
Sure.
the way, the best name in the world, Emily.
Yes, of course. So I just started with Bookkeep earlier this year, and my experience in the accounting industry started when I was at Insightful Accountant, and I was there for about 2 years. I was the webinar host and kind of like the project manager for all of the webinar type contracts. So I was really lucky to interact with a lot of different apps, a lot of different people in the apps, a lot of presenters. And I love the accounting community. I had previously worked with some corporate and higher ed clients, and it's a lot different. The accounting industry is very welcoming. Everybody, I feel like, is really super nice and wants to help everybody else succeed. And so I really do like that about this industry. And it's so great to go to these conferences. You know, we've been online for the last couple of years, so going out to these conferences and being able to shake people's hands and see them in person has been really awesome, really awesome experience.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I loved what Tom said too about, like, you make these friends in this industry. But people are so welcoming. Everybody kind of wants to help each other. And it's not, I just don't think there's competition. Honestly, I think most people have their, like, what they're really good at, what they're not really good at. But I just have found, I get those emails. You get those stinking emails from people like, "Hey, you want to, join? We'll guarantee you 5 new clients." I'm like, I don't want any more. Like, I'm good. I'm so good. And the reason why, like, the way I look at it is, and I just want to back up a second. Making friends. I just went to Deb Deffer's birthday party a few weeks ago. Deb's been a friend of mine for a long, long time. She's a great person, great human. And, that's what these relationships do by building up, and you know who the good people are. And I've not found a lot of crappy people within the accounting industry. There's some that are maybe a little bit more headstrong than others, and you just got to know where to fit in when it comes to that kind of a thing. But the conferences, going to the conferences is great. That's how you, like, face to face. And you're right, Emily, like, we've been online for so long, and that's been really tough, right? And it's a whole different experience when you wrap your arms around somebody, or just, be able to sit and have a coffee or whatever. And that's, like, so great. And so, thinking back, Tom, to, the 20 years plus that you've been involved in the industry, what the heck is going on? Now, we were talking 20 years ago about, nobody even dreamed of an online platform, maybe 20 years ago. I think 10 years ago, 12, maybe even 13, we were like, oh, I see that. I remember when I was in this partnership, and I wanted to work remote because I had young kids, and they were having nothing to do with remote working. No, you need to be in the office. Your butt needs to be in the seat. And there's still companies like that right now, which I think those guys might find themselves in a little bit of trouble because the way things are moving, and you've got your young professionals coming up. But, back in the day, Tom, why don't you tell us about back in the day? What was it like?
Well, before we had electricity and running water and no, but the thing is, if you really look at what's gone on, and, in my illustrious professional career, and, I'm old now. Let's just be serious, right? I'm old, and I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
right? But I was in the point of sale business. I installed more hospitality point of sale terminals than probably any 3 people in America.
Right.
And it was always a local network. They had a server in the back. They did, you had the cable, you had to do all this kind of stuff, and you had to run cabling into the kitchen, and, you put a printer in the kitchen, and then 3 days later it's full of grease and, all that kind of stuff. But nobody would ever back then even consider, like, a cloud-based, come on, cloud, seriously, let's not even talk about it, right? Now, and honestly, our founder and CEO, Jason Rickelson, was really one of the pioneers of this cloud-based, and then he's really lost his mind and said he was going to put it on an iPad. But if you remember, 15 years ago, the only people who used iPads were the kids, and they were playing Candy Crush or whatever they do on, right? And he's like, nope, I'm going to put it in the cloud, my POS in the cloud, and I'm going to have it on an iPad. And everybody in the POS community went, yeah, right. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah. Look at it. Shopkeep, one of the most successful startups of the day, ends up with 40 or 50,000 merchants, cloud-based on an iPad, crazy talk. Now look at what we do now. I mean, There's more technology in my phone and in your phone than NASA had when they went to the moon.
For real.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
Right? Crazy. And so technology wise, I can't even say the sky's the limit because we've already passed that.
Right.
So where do we go next? But I think that I really think that our community, right, is well served by people who actually care about what we do. Honestly,
Mhm.
I mean, when you said, I met lots of people, most of them are good people, the majority of them, there might be some that are headstrong. The vendor side of that is exactly the opposite.
Right.
Everybody wants to be in the Intuit community. Why? Because there are like 160,000 pro advisors.
Right.
I don't know. There's some ridiculous number, right?
Mhm.
So everybody sees that as fertile ground,
Right.
and so they sweep in, and they're the new kid on the block, and they might be a little better looking, and they might have a nicer car if you go back and look at high school, and but they're not willing to commit to the community. And if
Right.
you think you're going to be successful in the Intuit community in 2 years, then you're crazy, right?
Yeah.
This is a long-term play.
Yep.
And people in this community, it's funny because I tell people coming into this community all the time, you're going to shake a lot of hands and kiss a lot of babies long before you see any revenue.
100%.
Right. And the people that are the greatest influencers in our community, the people that everybody else listens to,
Right.
typically don't do the most business, because the people that are doing the most business are busy doing business and not really that concerned about helping the community.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So, the big influencers are helping your brand, our product,
Right.
but we're not getting that business from them.
Right.
I mean, you're a great example. Everybody in the world wants to be associated with Don Brolin. Everybody, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
When we started setting up, the first thing that the guys from whatever their name was, I can't even remember, their booth, he said, "Oh, so who do you work with?"
Right.
The guy said, "Do you work with Don Brolin?" I said, "Oh yeah, I've known Don for 2,000 years."
Yeah. We've been dead twice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's because only the good die young, Don.
You know it.
The movie Highlander, where they hack off his head and it grows back. But the moment I mentioned Don Brolin, they're like in reverence, like, oh, what, you and I don't work together because it's just something that we do, right? I mean, it takes work.
It takes work.
especially on your guys' part. I mean, poor Emily. I mean, you get a reprieve,
right?
Because you don't talk to me every day.
That's right.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're so right. Like, this isn't a short-term play. This is part of a family that lives forever. This is not, and you see the apps that come in, quick sweep in, and then they're gone. And I think understanding, first of all, the foundation of the app's partners that you want to work with, the foundation of what they believe in, their moral compass. Are they just there to sell you a product, or are they there to help you improve your business and the lives of your clients? Right. And that is something you have to, I always believe that about Intuit. Right. So that was like I'll say that's my first app that I started dealing with. Right. Because I went into Staples. I'm like, green box. I like that color, was from my high school. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go with the green one. I don't even know if anything else was there. It was a little Running Man, And as I started to get to know them, joining the Intuit Accountant Council, and then getting to know Tom through the IRP, well, whatever they want to call it now, that reseller program and all of that, I didn't know there were such great people in the accounting industry. I'm sitting at my desk, and that's all I ever knew. But then when I started to, and I'm like, this is a company that really does care about their customers. People like Allison Ball. You're like, I met Allison through there, and Ian Vason, and Andy Anchetta, all those guys who were the and Marie Archuleta. I mean, their name is the list is endless, really, of great people I've met and got to know through time. Mark Dean is also another one of my favorite. I had Mark. You'll love this little story about Mark Dean. Mark Dean, his voice. I'm like, bro, you need to be an announcer or something, or even like maybe like a beautiful love song radio show. And just that voice, I had him record a voicemail, like a morning wake up. Up, Dawn, this is your day. You got this, and whatever. And I play it every once in a while. And like, that's what it's all about. That you need the longevity. I can't be introducing apps to my clients and then they're gone in 2 years. So that's my responsibility to vet them. And I think that for those that are listening, that is a really important point that you have to take home, right? And Emily, you've seen it. Obviously working with an Insightful Accountant, you came across a lot of app partners and dealt with a lot of people. So you saw that firsthand.
Oh yeah.
And like you just kind of knew probably after the first 10 minutes of a conversation.
Well, and it takes a little bit of time too. We had a conversation this past week with somebody who's very new in the space. And, I think they didn't really know how to approach it. And I was like, look, I've been in here about a little over 2 years now. You can't just go in and try to sell something to somebody. You have got to build a relationship with them. They have to trust you to be even interested in your product.
Right. Yeah. And again, you just in the first 5 minutes, you get that.
Yeah.
So, and as we look back and we say, okay, back in the day, the cloud was like, what are you nuts? What are you smoking today? Like that was kind of like, all right, are we back in the 60s where we're going to go back to, doing drugs and stuff? I don't know. And so, but maybe go back to, I don't know. But it's like, that's the thing. And so the industry is changing. And here's where I think it's so important as we look forward to the future. We look at the past and like, we didn't believe we would be here. Well, some of us did, right? As time went on, we knew this was coming and we knew changes were going to be made. And so the industry itself is in an interesting shift right now. We need a lot of young professionals. We need people in the industry. People are phasing out fast and they're coming in. And that's really important for us to pay attention to. And if you think about that, doesn't matter what their age is, they're new in the industry, like you were saying, Emily, whether that was a vendor or an attendee, either way, as you're trying to maneuver in here, it is hard. It's hard to figure out who to commit to and who not to commit to. And that's probably the biggest challenge. Now, technology is replacing in some cases, and I should never be taking this keyboard, right? It's a keyboard. Can you see it? Yep, there we go. The keyboard and doing things like this to create transactions in a data file. We should be solving for that. And at the same time, not decreasing our pricing because we feel like we've automated things. So there's this interesting conversation about where are we going and where am I going to fit in? Tom, you are seeing that right now. People are just confused.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I'm sure Emily can speak much more eloquently on this, but we're really selling time, right? I don't know if you're a big fan of Hometown, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or I have to have some kind of copyright. Hometown is a home improvement show where this young couple, Ben and Aaron Napier, in Laurel, Mississippi, they go around and they rebuild these old houses in Laurel, Mississippi. Now, Laurel is a small town. So, this week they did I don't know what media it was on. He had given his wife the gift of time for her birthday. They have 2 young kids now. So, they're always running around, and he's planning a lunch for her with her mom, a day that she can work in the art studio. He's taking care of. We're not as romantically, but we're doing the same thing, right? What we're doing for our community is giving them their time back. Okay. We're solving for the aggravation that is leading to a shortage of bookkeepers and accountants in our community, because, you know, after the 10,000th manual reconciliation you're trying to do, you say to yourself, there has got to be a better way, right?
Yes.
I should just go drive Uber so that I'm not frustrated like I am putting this data in.
Yep.
And if we can save you 2 hours a week, 5 hours a week, 12 hours a month, the question that Emily will ask is, what are you going to do with that time? Are
Right.
you going to find more clients? Are you going to help more clients and do more consulting work? Are you going to make your kids' baseball games? Are you going to be at your kids' dance recital?
Sure.
And if you look at, as a vendor, how I can help you,
Right.
my client, right? Now, people talk about clients and they're really, they have in their head, the clients are the end users. My clients are you,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
That's and you know, the guy who started Southwest Airlines, I can't remember his name, said, my mission is to take care of the employees, because if I take care of the employees, they're going to take care of my customers.
Exactly.
My job, my mission every day when I wake up is to make sure that, you know, no matter who else is you're partnered with, that Bookkeep has got your back.
Yep.
Period.
Great example, Tom. I think it was Thursday or Friday last week that I think I emailed you or I texted you,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, you know, we're using Bookkeep for any client that can integrate with your tool, whether it be Square or whatever, PayPal, all the bazillion ones that you guys work with. Then I'm awesome. I've got that up and running. I get so excited when we get a new client or even an existing client who's starting to do sales through another venue. And we're like, oh, we can solve for this. This isn't going to take us more time. And I had texted you and said, do you do posting by class? And that's because one of my bookkeepers, Nicole, she was like, we have this client. I've been just doing their tax return. We've not been doing a lot of consulting with them, but they're growing like crazy. And she's like, they have this reporting requirement where they need the sales to come in, blah, blah, blah. Do they do it by class? And I'm like, it does it by class, right, Tom? Because I'm not needed to use class, so I don't ask about it unless I need it. And I was like, you do classes? And I sent that to Nicole. I could feel the relief from 20 miles away where she lives, because she, as the bookkeeper, is exactly what you're talking about. She wants to solve for the client. That's her thing. Her job is to make the client's life better, to give them the time back. So you're giving us the time back. Our goal is to give them the time back and have them actually reporting accurately and all the rest of that stuff. But you're so right. You're selling that time 100%. And Emily, I want you to jump in on that.
I mean, I'll just echo Tom. I mean, you have to put in care. You have to care for whether that is your accountant or whether that's the end user, that you have to provide value. You can't just sell something and think, oh, well, everything's great and they should use it just because. Like, there has got to be that we're saving you time. And whether that is adding more clients to your business, taking a day off, only working 4 days a week, going to see your kids, activities. Those are important things. And I hear it from users, that they are saving time. They are able to go pick their kids up from school. And that's a really nice thing to hear, because we're not just selling something just to sell it.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, you can monetize that all you want. I mean, we have research studies and, you're going to save X amount of dollars, X amount of hours, but that doesn't hit home until you say, well, wouldn't it have been nice to actually have dinner with your family 3 times a week instead of once?
Right.
And then people start to realize. But it's that type of relationship, and again, if you want to see the opposite, go run a restaurant for a couple of months, and you could buy tomatoes from a guy, the produce vendor, for 20 years, and then somebody comes in and offers you those same tomatoes, or what they say are the same tomatoes, for 20 cents cheaper a pound, and you're buying tomatoes from that new guy.
Right.
Because a tomato is a tomato is a tomato, right?
Right.
Then you get the first shipment and not all of them are firm. and some of them may be broken or whatever. And the first thing you say is, I should have never left my 20-year guy.
Yep.
Right. But you did it. Right.
Yep.
We're the same way. Our Bookkeep is not the cheapest solution.
Mm-hmm.
We especially when we were younger, we probably were, because that's how you get business. But we're not the cheapest solution.
Right.
And if you want the cheaper solution, go get the cheaper solution. And then when it breaks,
Yep.
or when, the two guys in the garage don't answer the phone when you call for support, then you come back to us.
Well, and I think that that's another great conversation, because support, right? Support is critical. And when you're working with some kind of a solution provider and you can't get somebody pretty darn quickly, you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to waste that time that you thought you were gaining back. By the way, you've just lost more time than you were gaining. So now you're at the negative. We're in the negative now, and nobody likes to be in the negative. Like, I don't think anybody does. And so that's another big consideration. So how available are they? And you know what? At the end of the day, you're not going to know until you're in a jam. That's when you know how good support is when you're like, oh crap, I'm in trouble. I need help. And then that's when the truth starts to come about. And so, definitely one of the things, and I'm, we are talking about Bookkeep today, because why wouldn't we? Bookkeep, for us, my biggest thing was I can get in the chat and get somebody like almost right away, like pretty much right away. And hey, listen, can you, I don't want to email. I don't want to freaking email another person. I'm going to stab myself on emails, right? You guys have that support. Not every app has chat support and chat support where they actually get on to chat and answer you like a human. I got to tell you real quick, Tom, because I know you've got something up in your head there. I had an app. No, it wasn't an app. It was something I was trying to get solved for a client. I can't even remember exactly what it was, but there was chat support. It was a bot, like one of those bot things. It's like, hey, what do you need? And I'm like, I need a customer service representative. Well, and then it's just the canned thing, and I'm like ready to kill someone. And it was one of my restaurant clients, actually. And so I'm on there, and she's watching me because I'm sharing the screen. And then they said something like, oh, no one's available at this time. And I typed in, I go, of course there's no one available, because that would be convenient for me. And then the guy jumps back on. He's like, nope, this is actually a real person. I'm like, well, you were pretty good disguise, because you sounded like a bot. And it was just really funny. But I was just like, yeah, of course you don't have anybody available. But
of course,
like, it's a huge deal. Support is a huge deal.
Yeah. So it's funny you talk about our chat, especially on the weekends. So our chat support, our support team works Monday through Friday, right? The chat is on over the weekend. And you know who's monitoring that over the weekend?
Jason.
Our founder and CEO, Jason Rickelson. And he was answering chats while he was on vacation in Spain. And that, first of all, that just shows the kind of person he is. But it's also, for me, kind of sad, right? This poor guy can't even take a vacation. Now, somebody else would have answered it, I'm sure. I mean, I answered chats all weekend.
Right.
But if you have the level of commitment, and again, I go back, the commitment to the community, right? That person who chatted over the weekend was probably going to be okay if we waited till Monday.
Sure.
But now they're never going anywhere. Never. Right. I mean,
well, and I think part of it too is, I know as a practitioner, and this is where, you guys are smart, because obviously, Tom, you know everything, and Emily knows everything. So Jason's got it all figured out. So you guys like have a solid team. But at the end of the day, a lot of practitioners find the time to be able to work on those integrations and do those types of things on the weekend. You know why? Because the freaking phone isn't ringing and the people aren't coming in the door. It's that ability on the weekend to be able to focus. And I find myself, like, during the week, I'm a 10 to 4 girl, if I can help it. At most, I want to be no more than 10 to 4. Sometimes on a Friday, I'll just work in the morning, and then I know I'm going to work on Saturday for 3 or 4 hours, because I know it's going to be quiet and I know I'll be productive. And so, who wants to work on the weekends? Nobody. But who wants to work during the week? Nobody. So, like, it's just like, pick your battle, right? When it comes to when you're working. But having that support, Tom, those people will never go away.
Yeah. And I say all the time, man, if I hit the Powerball, I'm calling in rich, right? I got hey boss, I can't come to work today. I got a vision problem. Well, what's the matter? Can't see myself working anymore because I just hit the Powerball. I mean, you know, but the other thing is, again, not wanting to give away any trade secrets here, but if I send an email on Saturday, I get twice the open rate as I do if I send it Monday through Friday, sometimes even higher than that. And I know for a fact that if I email Don Brolin Saturday morning, I'm going to get an immediate response. Now, Monday through Friday, it might be an hour or two.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, she's when she sees it, she's answering.
Bang.
Right.
But well, that's the commitment. That's the two-way commitment.
Yeah. Again, I think that if you really want to see the true colors of the vendors that you want to work with, call support or chat support and see what the results are. Right. Now we do. I don't think. Well, I know for sure I don't know everything. Emily may, but I don't know everything. I do know this, that once you have a relationship with a Intuit member, a community member, you have got to cherish that, because you're only 2 screw ups away from everybody in the community knowing you're a screw up.
Yeah.
And I can list them.
Yeah.
I mean, there are hundreds of people who have flown into this community and screwed us up, and then we all have to recover.
Right.
And frankly, and I'm sure you have to beep this out, it pisses me off that they think they can come in here so cavalierly and work within this community.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I find for myself, oh, that looks like a good app, and I'll go look and see what they're doing, whatever. My biggest thing is I want to evaluate how they're approaching me, right? Are they sticking a pamphlet in my face and whatever? Like, what are they actually like? Hey, so what is your firm like? Like, and actually having that conversation. Of course, conferences are the great place to do that. And at the same time, I think conferences sometimes do a disservice. They do a little bit of disservice because they don't do their due diligence to vet out the apps that want to come and sponsor their show. Instead of just being, oh yeah, come on in, we want your $7,500 or your $15,000 or whatever, because we're trying to fill the show floor. We want to make it a lot of stuff there, and that's not always the best decision.
Well, a good example, you were at Scaling New Heights this year. There was a company that was making a lot of noise about how great they were and what a great partner they were going to be for Woodard Group and Scaling New Heights. And the night before setup, they were putting up the big banners on the columns on the way into the show, and that was the big buzz. This company was going to, give away this, give away that. That night they went bankrupt, turned the lights off, and that morning we were going to set up, and they were pulling the things off the columns. And that's because, $7,500, $75,000 for a sponsorship. That's good. That's a big win, but only if they show up.
Yeah.
And my advice to them when it was going on was quite simply, get paid up front.
Yep. 100%.
Right. So the moral of that story is, just because they have the big flashy new car doesn't make them the best transportation to the fair.
And I feel like a lot of people in the accounting industry, I mean, as from my experience alone, like, nobody sees an app and just goes and jumps into it. Like, it takes time. It takes all of that, going to see about customer care and really understanding the business and getting a little bit of background about the people that are running it for them to make a decision to go for it.
Well, and I think the vendors, the app partners that choose the right people. So like bringing Jason's no dummy, brought Tom on. Then he brought Emily on.
Well, yeah, let's not go
Tom
overboard on that.
Tom found me at Scaling New Heights last year, so that's how we connected.
Because Emily and her girlfriend were trying to play pool, and it was really sad. It was actually, it was
shout
sad.
out to Molly.
Yeah, shout out to Molly, because neither of the two of them actually knew how to hold a pool stick, but they wanted to do something. I mean, we did a thing where come on by. We had Jason's Amex card, and we were going to run up the bill, and but yeah, and honestly, whatever happened where she was working before, I happened to be on LinkedIn when she posted, and 10 minutes after she posted she was looking for a job, she was talking to Jason.
Yeah.
Because we needed Emily. Every day I try to tell Emily how much I appreciate what she does, because we were just getting crushed otherwise. But I mean, and again, I think this becomes kind of a more emotional conversation as you go deeper into it, because if you're going to look at an application, I want to know what else that company does, right? If they're selling cars and they have an app, pretty certain your app is falling below the line when it comes to how am I going to help, and if there's if somebody screws up in this community and a year later, 2 years later, shows up with another app or another company and thinks that we're all not going to remember, they get what they deserve.
Yeah,
they really do.
Yeah.
I mean, and there is so much good that happens in our community that the bad actors should get called out, and they should get drummed out of our community. Right. Just like Shrek, right? Which a lot of people say, I look like a cross between Shrek and Sean Connery. Shrek lives outside the village because he's grumpy and he's this and he's that and this other. But the end of the day, he saves the day.
He does
right?
save the day.
Right. But those people get drummed out of our community because they don't deserve an opportunity to serve you all.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, what would I do if I wasn't doing this? I don't know. I often say I wish I was born rich instead of good looking. But I mean, there's something about having lifelong friends, and I mean,
yeah,
you know them, Don. They're the same cast of characters,
yep.
And some of them retire, some of them go on to do other things, but they're going to be friends forever.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully when I croak, it's not going to be how much business I brought to you. It's going to be that he was a good guy and he helped and he made a difference. Yep. Because we're all going sometime.
Yep.
Right?
Inevitable.
And I never seen on a gravestone he was a great employee. Yep. Or he should have did one more cold call. I mean,
No, I totally agree, Tom. Like, I mean, like I said, I go to these conferences and, people will come up and compliment me, but it's like, they're complimenting the job I do, but they're complimenting me as a person. Mm-hmm. And like, it is so fulfilling to go and talk to these people and just have that response.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting that you say it that way too, because at the end of the day, you go to a funeral and I've been to too many. We all have been to too many in the last couple of years, but just looking around and like, would my line be this long? Like, you look around here, like, would people be sad that I was gone? Would they be celebrating, which is what I prefer them to do, celebrating that time. But at the end of the day, I always want to be remembered. And I'm not saying I'm great at it. I'm just saying that my goal is always to strive that people, when they think about me, they smile. They're not like, oh, Brolin's here. Wonder what painful story she's going to tell today, type of thing. Like, oh, it's Brolin. This is like a happy time for me. Right. Yeah. And that's what we want. And those relationships that you're building out there, that's what life is about. Automating the accounting is awesome because you know why? I can have my time back. I took Friday off. I went down to Scarborough and I met up with Saratoga, met up with my aunt and my uncle. And, those are the things that we should be doing. And at the same time, my company's still running. I'm not coming in on Monday morning with this overflow of emails because we're really working so hard to have things automated and for people to be able to get their lives back. You know, most of the time they don't even want to talk to us. They don't want to talk to the stinking accountant. They just don't. Some do. Some do too much in some ways. But it's like, you know, that's what you want for your business. You want to be able to get into your office at whatever time. You know, my standard is 10. Today I had a call at 9:30, so I had to come in really early. You know, so but being able to come in and not be like, oh my goodness, what happened over the weekend? Is there all that what am I going to run into on a Monday? And we've really worked hard to minimize that painful exposure of I failed somebody, because that's the last thing I ever want to do is to fail someone. So I think, you know, as we're thinking in the future and as we're considering what is going to happen as we continue to move forward, and it's client satisfaction, because Tom, what you were saying about the apps where they swoop in, they swoop out, you don't want to be that accounting professional either.
Yeah.
You bring a client on and you're the standard, same old accountant like the other guy. You don't want to do that. You want to set yourself up for success and for you to stand out. And in order for you to do that, you want to make sure your clients are saying, oh my goodness, my accountant's freaking awesome. And then they refer and they're like, sorry, we're not taking on any more clients. And boy, you got lucky, you're on the list. And that's what I've been telling clients recently. I'm like, listen, I'm not taking on new clients because I want to get better at those I have. And if that means later, you know, 6 months or a year from now, I can open back up to accepting new clients, then cool. But, you know, and I think app partners think a little bit about that themselves too, as you guys are almost interviewing us as the accounting professionals, saying, do I want to work with this person? So be a person.
Sure. Yeah, you're exactly right. Because it's gotta be a more genuine relationship for it to be successful. Right. Now, interestingly enough, you know, if we want to talk about where the industry is actually heading, I think you're on the forefront of that because you introduce your tech stack, right? Here's what I use. Now, if you get a client and they say, well, I don't want to use Bookkeep, I want to use X. Well, good, you go ahead and do that. Find somebody else to work with you. I don't really want to be your accountant.
That's
because this is right. But not everybody does that. So then you have 3 people on this product and 3 people on this product, and you know, 5 clients on Truly and 5 clients on Relay, and you know, 3 clients on Melon or whatever it is. You know, pick a name. You know, I want a software application called Prune. Right? You got like Peachtree and you got this and you got Prune, because nobody's going to mistake that, right? Yeah. Whatever it's going to be, right? But at least, right, nobody else will steal that name, right?
I mean, you don't have to trademark that.
Right, sauerkraut. I mean, come on, you know, I mean, durian fruit, something that people are going to go, what? But anyway, but no, I mean, I think you're seeing that now. And the other thing I think you're seeing is, you and I see it all the time, and I'm not really sure why, but you know, get training, become a virtual bookkeeper, and you can work 10 hours a week, and that could be your side gig.
Yep.
Right. Well, I don't want my dentist to be a side gig, right? But I prefer my cardiologist actually spend most of his time doing cardiologist stuff and not soapbox derby.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, right? Yep. So now it's a side gig, and they think that they have the process down where you don't actually have to know bookkeeping to be a bookkeeper. Right. And that's just the most dangerous thing ever. Right. So we just got to weed that kind of stuff out. Now there are really great folks who do that too. Sure. Right. They create their own network, they create their own training, and they're very successful, and they adopt the tech stack, and their followers adopt that same tech stack. That's great. But anybody who thinks you can take 6 hours of training and become a bookkeeper, I want them to do my competitors' books.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
but that's so true, because at the end of the day, and that's one of the things, like for me, and a lot of my colleagues that are out, you know, Marriott Martinez, there's a million, Heather Satterley, all kinds of different people who are out there doing great things, right? Hector Garcia, just helping so many people learn. We are actually practitioners. And there's a big difference between someone who's trying to thought lead without owning a practice versus those that are owning a practice. That's one of the things for me. You know, people are like, well, how long are you going to keep doing accounting? You should just go out and do the speaking. I go, no, the accounting keeps me grounded. It's not about, all right, I'm not doing it for free, right? I mean, it's got to be a little bit about money, but I'm doing the accounting because I know I have to keep my head in the game. In order for me to help other people be successful, I have to prove that I can be successful in my own practice. Otherwise, what the hell? Talking sideways out of my mouth. That's not right. It just can't be that.
And there's the difference, Dawn. Honestly, as we wrap this up, there's the difference. You're honest enough about the relationship that you're building to say, hey, look, this is also about money. You're not a nonprofit.
Nope.
Well, at least not by design.
Correct.
But you're not a nonprofit. Bookkeep is not a nonprofit.
Nope.
But there's a way to be successful and still be profitable. And that is by actually doing the things that we do, right? And it costs a lot of money. There's a lot of resources behind what we do. Now, 4 of us went to XeroCon, New Orleans. How much did that cost Bookkeep? I don't know, with the booth, probably $25,000. But like I told these folks who just showed up at XeroCon, half the people that are in this show today won't be here next year.
Nope.
Honestly, I think including them, right? Because they don't have the commitment. This is all about commitment. I'm committed to Don Brolin.
Right.
And Don Brolin knows that, right? Don Brolin knows that she can text me on a weekend or in the middle of the night with a question or a concern, and she's going to get an answer.
Absolutely.
Right? If you don't have that degree of confidence in your vendor, your technology provider, then you're with the wrong technology provider.
Yep.
Right? I can tell you that 99% of the people in the community that we do business with have my cell phone.
Yep.
That's probably stupid on my part, but
you didn't give it to just anybody either.
Right. I don't. Well, yeah. Wow, that's a whole different. I was there. Yeah. Well. Back in. Yeah. Well. Let's slow down that train. But that's honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you have to be committed to each and every one of these partners you work with, because otherwise they're going to know. I mean, if I half-assed this 20 years ago, then, you know, I'd be making spaghetti sauce at, you know, Luigi's, you know, pizzeria.
Or you'd be selling ragu off the street.
Well, yeah. And I do that too. If you look at my Facebook page, no, I'm teasing. I do make, however, the best meat sauce in America.
I got to have some of that.
I mean, we need some.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So I know, I mean, this has been a great conversation. I think and there are a lot of people who want to learn how to work with vendors and how to work with the app partners. And so I think just even listening to this to get that guideline of what's important. And that's really to be true to yourself. So Emily, I'll let you say your last words.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what you just said, something I've been thinking about that as we've been talking is you just have to be authentic. You have to be authentically you, and your company has to be authentic and committed to the clients and to whatever the mission of the company is.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom?
My last words?
Yeah.
You want my last words?
Well, no, just we'll continue, ... after whatever you say.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I agree 100%. If you're not committed, they'll know you're not committed to them, and you'll be on your way. And if you're in our space, you should find something else to do, because we are committed. We are 100% committed. You know, I think we have 25 people that work for us, and 19 of them development and support.
Right.
And so, you know, to those poor guys that were next to us, just find something else to do.
Go make your own spaghetti sauce, meat sauce.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and so I'll wrap it up by saying, the moment I met Jason last fall, so of course I came over to the Bookkeep booth because of Tom. I'm like, oh my God, it's Tom. But meeting Jason and just having the conversation with him, he's extremely intelligent. As a matter of fact, as a CEO, I owe him some reports out of a bowling alley
Yes.
point of sale system. And
Yes, you do.
right? And he and I had that conversation a couple weeks ago. And then he actually emailed me, I think it was Thursday or Friday, and said, hey, Brolin, get me those bowling alley reports. He doesn't have to do that. That says a lot about his commitment to me, what he's trying to accomplish for every small business owner in the world.
He has to do that, Dawn.
Yeah.
Because he's committed to doing it.
Yep.
And that's the difference. Honestly, that's the difference. Our entire team is so committed. I mostly am committed because I don't want to let him down.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and that's what it's about. We don't want to let you down. He doesn't, I mean,
and we don't want to let you down. The road goes both ways.
Right.
I think that once you can build that solid foundation, that relationship, that there's a home run relationship right there that you will have forever. And so, and I think at the end of the day, as people that are listening, that's the message. But I want to thank you both so much for coming on to the DM Disruption today. We're just trying to shake up the industry, get people to be out there and actually doing something with the tools that they're being given, essentially, from app partners like Bookkeep, to give you your life back, to give you your time back, and your team, your staff, and then hopefully at the end, your clients. And so that's what we're trying to help educate, teach people to do. But Emily and Tom, thank you guys so much for joining me today. And our future is forever. So we look forward to having you on again as we continue this conversation, because it's ongoing and forever. Until we're dead.
Thank you, Dawn.
Will be good.
And then I'll come back and haunt you. So that you're not even going to get away from me like by that. So
no, not possible. All right, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Take care. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye now.